The Large Bathers by Paul Cezanne is a painting that dawns on you. At first you see the whole, a group of women bathing by a river, a subject that's anything but original. The canvas is composed in a balanced geometry of triangles, one for the group on the left, one for those on the right, and one comprising them all, bounded by the leaning trees. But after a minute, you start to notice things like the figures behind the river, or the swimmer in the water, or almost disturbingly that none of the bathers have any definable faces, or that their bodies seem to fold into one another as if they'd been painted over but not completely. The more you stare at it, the more the canvas seems a chaos of elements, deliriously rendered with a spontaneity that feels almost negligent. Of course, we know that Cezanne labored on this painting for 7 years all the way up to his death. Spontaneity is certainly part of the message, but the painter was intensely purposeful in what he wanted to say and how he wanted to convey it. From our perspective, across the gulf of cubism and all imaginable forms of abstraction, it's hard for Cezanne's distortions of color and form to shock us. Yet, that's exactly what they did in 1906 at the painting's first exhibition. It's not wrong to say that Cezanne initiated what became the 20th century's endless experimentation. As Picasso himself said, Cezanne is the father of us all. In this way, he can sort of be seen as the bridge between what came before and all that was to come. The Large Bathers reaches in the past, recalling similar scenes of nudes or bathers like those by Titian or Nicolas Poussin or Thomas Eakins, among others. Certain of the figures evoke postures from older works. The woman on the left, striding upwards with the tree, for example, bears a resemblance to an 18th century sculpture of the goddess Diana. Or take the woman on the right, here, whose raised knee and shoulders remember the classical Venus de Milo by Alexandros of Antioch. And perhaps it should be noted that none of the 14 women we see here were drawn from real models. Cezanne took his examples from other works and picture books, adding to that disquieting sense of remove that these figures have from any identifiable personalities. That remove, that alienation, is echoed everywhere in the painting. Of the 14 women, 6 are simply turned away from the viewer. A few are even in the process of dissolving or emerging from the foliage all around them. Most unsettling of all, the figures are pocked with areas of white, which on closer examination proves not to be any paint at all, but the bare canvas itself, interrupting the scene as if some force from a world beyond. What is Cezanne trying to do here? What do these disturbances amount to? What are the effects of his short, flat brushstrokes, of distilling everything into its geometrical basis, or freezing in paint that which doesn't appear to be a scene at all, but something on the verge of becoming a scene, or else of dissolving out of one? Cezanne is emerging out of Impressionism, a movement that was obsessed with how colors and light really appeared to the eye. How did the atmosphere, the rain, or the sunset affect the visual impression of the observer? The Impressionists explored this by going out into nature and painting rapidly, applying just what they saw to the canvas in front of them. Cezanne took the palette of the Impressionists, retaining the brilliant, often surprising colors used to evoke nature's effect on us. But he took color a step further and applied it to express form as well. Ever since the Renaissance, depth was rendered via perspective. Cezanne seems to realize that Renaissance perspective is only a kind of code by which we understand the third dimension in a canvas. Seeing itself, the perception as distinct from the understanding, may not work on those principles. It may be far more unruly than that. This is why he didn't shy away from distortion of objects, of using colors to bring elements in the background forward, or melt things in the foreground into the architecture of colors that hold them there. There's a difference between the way we know what we see and how we actually see it. Our minds are so incredibly good at taking the anarchic varieties of sensible experience and within milliseconds composing them into intelligible wholes. It happens so fast that we can't even access that actual moment of perception. And for the most part, we should be happy about that, because raw experience, like a kind of trauma, is just too much for us to withstand. In The Large Bathers, Cezanne uses his various techniques to visit that moment of perception. Confronted with it aesthetically, all that's unsettling about experience is frozen for our contemplation. In life, it's a bridge we just can't cross. Take a look at that man on the other side of the river. Many think that this figure is Cezanne himself, situated between the classical constructed diorama of bathers and the pastoral impressionistic church scene in the distance. Now, I'd bet if we could turn the painting around and see it from that perspective, it would look just as sensual, erotic, and beautiful as something by Titian or any other painter who depicted a similar scene in the past. But from our vantage, the one Cezanne gave to us, we're allowed a fugitive access to something far more disturbing. The real. Hey everybody, if you want to help me keep making these videos, I'm doing a big push for Patreon pledges. Everything helps, as little as $1 per video. It really is the pledges that allow me to continue making this channel, and the more I get, the more time and effort I can spend on making really cool stuff, and I have a lot of stuff in the works right now, which is going to be really great. Yeah, if you think The Nerd Writer is something that you're not seeing anywhere else and you want to see more of it, pledging is really the way to help me, so thank you so much, and here are some more videos.